All right. So this is Coyote.
This is Alec.
Welcome to On the Millennial Mind. Think I got that right this time. No?
Ooh, we kind of took out the mind part. Now it's just on the millennial.
No, that's just the email. The email is onmillennial@gmail.com. But the podcast still called On the Millennial Mind.
I didn't see mind there. Let me check.
No, it is. Trust me.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
part of the URL too.
Okay. But it's not on the Tumblr.
Well, that's different.
And it's not on the Twitter either.
No, the Twitter is only on Millennial as well.
On the Tumblr, it's on the millennial.
That's your fault. You created that one.
Yeah, but we already decided on the millennial when you put it as on millennial.
No, it has to be on the millennial mind because there are other things called on the millennial. Or on millennial at least. Anyway, that's the URL for the podcast.
Okay.
On the millennial mind.
We are apparently very confused about what it is.
Well, we're going to be happy if the sound is good. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, we're just worried about the sound right now.
So tell me about the thing that you wanted to say about humor. You said that there was something that we didn't cover about it.
Well, there's a lot that we didn't cover, mainly because we got so off track. But we don't like things that glorify bad behavior kind of deal, like, racism and sexism and isms in general.
Okay.
But we do like dark humor.
What is dark humor?
Dark humor, it's like, how do you pronounce it? Nihilism? Nihilism.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. That's how I would define it. I don't know, like, the official definition. But, like, we do like stuff like that, and we like stuff that villainizes the
villains.
The villains, yeah. Because most jokes are kind of like announcing it as the norm, and the good thing is the absurd in our minds, right? Mm-hmm. We kind of like to flip the script a little bit.
By the good thing is the absurd, you mean you like the absurd. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or are you saying that what is good to most people is absurd to you?
Not necessarily. No.
Okay, give me an example then.
Well, like... okay, here's one that you tried to explain to me that fell flat for me.
Uh-huh.
The, talk about the joke with the apartment building and the man trying to get the woman.
Okay. That was not mine, by the way. It was one I didn't like either.
Neither of us liked it.
Yeah,
but apparently the person who told my dad it loved it.
Yeah. No, it's an old joke that used to be told like way before your time, right? And it's simply a story about a guy who was at the bus station waiting for the bus so he could go to school, and he was a college student, and one day he was waiting by the bus station, and across the street there was this apartment building, and on the balcony there came this most beautiful woman he'd ever seen, and she just stood there, and the hair was blowing with the wind, and she was looking at the horizon, beautiful eyes, long eyelashes, and she looked down at the young man, and she gave the faintest of smiles, and then with her finger she beckoned him to go to her. And so he hesitated for a moment, looked around, thinking, who is she? Who is she calling? He was the only one there, so he pointed at his chest and said, "Me?" And she said, "Yes, come over." And he crossed the street, running, and, tried to see where she was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors, 1, 2, 3 apartments to the right. So he went up 5 floors, 1, 2, 3 apartments to the right, knocked at the door. And a huge black muscular guy opens the door. He was in his underwear. He grabbed the young man, pulled him inside, closed the door, and made passionate love to him. Well, the next day, the same thing happened. He was waiting for the bus. The beautiful woman comes out. Now, this time she's wearing a beautiful red dress, lots of cleavage, and she looks at him, waves at him, and calls him. And he hesitates for a second, but now he wanted to make sure he got the right apartment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. He runs across the street, goes up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3 apartments to the right, and knocks at the door, and the huge black muscular guy opens the door and grabs him and makes passionate love to him again. So the third day, he thought, "I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to fall for that trick anymore." This time she comes out and she calls on him, and he doesn't want to go up. She takes off her gown and she's naked, and she insists that he should come over. And he wants to make sure this time he got the right apartment. He goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 apartment, 2 apartments, 3 apartments. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. And so he goes up, and this time he didn't run. He was walking very carefully, making sure he got the right number of stairs, the right number of apartments, knocks at the door, and this time the beautiful woman opens the door, and she smiles at him. She's naked, and he says, "Oh, where's the black guy?" That was the joke.
Yeah, it's not... It fell flat for me.
Yeah.
And my initial thought was, I don't get it. The expectation is that he wants to make love to the woman, and he got the wrong door, and he was pulled in by a big black dude. And this time you're saying passionate love, right? Yeah. But when you originally told me, you used a different word.
I said rape.
Right.
And the reason is this. The joke was told in Spanish, right?
Yes.
And in Spanish, a word was used that really made no distinction between one or the other. And it was meant to bring to mind the idea that he was being forced. And then at the end, with the punchline, the same word then is changed to something that he was enjoying all along, right?
Right. The word at the same time means to take forcefully and also to make passionate love. It can be used either or, right?
It can be, yeah. I mean, yes, exactly.
There's no distinction between rape and consensual sex.
In that old colloquialism.
Right.
Well, there is a distinction between the two. But this joke was a product of a time way before your time, a time of deeply embedded racism, homophobia, and lack of awareness about date rape and things like that.
Right. And when I was first told that story, I didn't even make the connection between the homophobia.
Right.
I got the racism, the strong, powerful black guy who's also forcefully taking in a sexually violent way.
And an implied fear of, of a white, frail white person, male or female, of being overpowered by a strong, highly sexualized black man.
Right. Okay. So I got that joke was like super racist.
Yeah.
I also got that the joke made fun of and trivialized male rape victims.
Yes.
What I didn't see at first was the homophobia, because I did see normalized heterosexuality, but I didn't see anything that was against him liking men more than women.
Right. And see, and to me, homophobia was the first thing that came to mind, because the thing that flips in the joke is the so far you have seen this guy as being heterosexual. He wants a woman, right?
Right.
And of course, at that time, there is absolutely no consideration given to bisexuality, for example. It's just you see a guy and he looks at a beautiful woman, he wants her, and so obviously, in the mind of the older generations, he's straight, right? And so by the end, when he keeps going up, you think, okay, this is a guy that is so horny for that woman that he keeps falling into the same trap every time. And so at the end...
And see, my thought to that, instead of he's so horny for the woman, he keeps going there, my thought was he has absolutely no sense of self-preservation.
Well, that was also the case.
That was mine, but I didn't assume that it was purely because he is so straight and so into this specific woman. It's that, like, they're making off the implied sexual assault as something that's not nearly as important as getting to this woman, which obviously it's a very awful thing to have done to you.
It's an awful thing to have done to you if the rape is assumed, right?
Right.
At the end, it's revealed that he was liking it all along, and that could mean one of two things. One is that he turned out to be enjoying homosexual sex in the end, or that he was turned by the sexually powerful
right.
man.
The implication of the joke is that he wasn't gay at first.
Right.
He became gay after being...
Or he was secretly gay.
Or closeted,
and
right.
Closeted, and the truth came out in the end. The delivery of the punchline is the speaker has to he has to gay it up a lot. He has to be all Liberace about it, and so now he's asking for the black guy in the, dissolution because it's not there and all that.
Yeah, when he's asking where's the guy isn't here. Apparently, the joke is supposed to be told with like the flamboyant and the hand gestures that is typically associated with.
It doesn't have to be like super flamboyant, but even nuanced femininity would do. in that case.
And that was blind to me. I didn't even realize, because I don't think like that.
This joke was told in a third world country to me, back in El Salvador, in a society that was very homophobic, where being gay was really was seen as a really bad defect.
Right.
Defect of character, defect of morals, or a weakness.
Yeah, the assumption was that gay people would rape you, right?
No.
No.
No, that was here in the U.S.
That was here in the U.S.
That was here in the U.S.
Right. So that wasn't there in El Salvador.
No, the assumption was that the gay person wouldn't mind being raped by another male.
That's just as bad.
Gay. That's horrible. But there was a weird thing.
Both things are bad.
There was a weird thing in El Salvador, and I've seen it in other Latin countries, where the passive homosexual is what the psychologists call it back then.
What the heck does that mean?
The psychologists call them passive and active. The active homosexual is one that penetrates, and the passive is one that is penetrated. Okay?
Okay.
And the consensus there was that being homosexual, being gay, was a factor of being of receiving the penetration. If you like to be penetrated, then you were gay. If you like penetrating, male or females, you were macho. You were very manly.
Oh no!
I remember having this discussion with an old friend who, he was talking about his cousin. He was saying, "Oh yeah, my cousin is very macho. He's like, he's a man's man. He's a he-man. He's a ladies' killer, and this and that. And he would fuck anything. He would fuck a girl. He would fuck a guy. He said, wait, what did you say? Yeah, he would do it to a girl, a guy. He doesn't care because he's so manly, right? I said, well, you mean he would have sex with a guy and he would be so manly? Yeah. That's being gay, right? At least bisexual. No, he's not bisexual. He only gives it. He only penetrates. He would never take it himself, because that would be gay. And
the implication that being gay automatically makes you not manly.
And the implication that being gay will make you not manly. Yeah.
What is up with that?
It's and that that came from that impulse that many closeted gays had to exaggerate their manly TM demeanor, right? So they had to be the jock and strong and without feelings and all that,
right?
So that, and even many who would just sleep around with so many women, trying to hide the fact that they like men as well.
And that plays into toxic masculinity.
Yes.
But the thing is that, that still doesn't imply that they're not manly. It just implies that they have to be twice as manly.
All right, so 2 guys were in jail. They were best friends.
Okay.
And they had been in jail for a while. And they were sharing the same jail cell. And so this was Juan and Pedro, right? And Pedro says to Juan, "Hey Juan, yeah, Pedro? We've been here for 6 months now. Yeah, I know. Don't you miss having sex?" "Oh, I do. I miss that all the time." "And dude, we're gonna be here for 5 years, right?" "Yeah, that's a long time." "So I was thinking, why don't we have sex ourselves, just to have some pleasure, and alleviate tension. No, no way. Why would I do that? I don't like guys. And Pedro said, well, of course not. Me either, man. I like women. Yeah, I like women too. But there are no women here. And if you let me do it to you, then I'll let you do me. And, just while we're here. Then when we get out, we'll just, it'll just be over. It's not really going to be gay. He said, well, I don't know. I don't think that's good. Come on, man. Just let me do it to you and then you can do it to me. It's going to be good. I don't know. And so day after day, there was this thing where Pedro kept insisting, right? So finally, Juan gave in, and Juan said, okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it. But I don't want to be gay. It's not going to be gay, man. I'm not gay. You're not gay. We're fine. Okay. And so they draw lots, and Pedro was going to go first. He was going to penetrate Juan first. And so they start having sex, and Pedro is on top of Juan, and he's like inside him, and they're having sex, and in the middle of that, Juan kind of turns around, looks at his best friend Pedro, and Pedro is inside him, and Juan reaches over, touches his face, and gives him a kiss. And then Pedro said, see, that's what I didn't want. That's just gay shit. That's gay shit.
Okay.
So you get the homophobia there.
I get it.
Okay.
The whole thing is just fucked up, man.
Tell me about it.
Even from the very beginning, that pressuring.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good. And in the joke, that's like supposed to be normal. Like if you take away the gay part, then most people would assume that's normal. It's just two people talking about having sex, and one of them is like hesitant and the other wants it, and eventually they agree to do it. And in my mind, that's not normal at all, or that's not good either. You're essentially pressuring and guilting the other person into giving in, even though you really don't want to do it. It should have just dropped from the very first no,
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even going into the whole homophobia, sexuality thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that joke.
All those jokes were the product of a very homophobic culture.
Right.
Yeah, they found it funny. But I wonder, would that be funny then to men, women, gays? Or was that a joke being repeated only amongst heterosexual men and women?
To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was only heterosexuals.
Mm-hmm.
Because even back then, there was a lot of stigmatism and social connotations to being gay that people just assume that is inherent in being gay,
Mm-hmm.
There is such a thing as internalized homophobia and internalized transphobia,
Mm-hmm.
which is where you're not actually homophobic or transphobic or anything like that towards other people, but you put those sort of like social pressures on yourself because you are one of them.
Yeah.
And the things that you have grown up with and witnessed are affecting how you think about yourself,
That I had many friends or relatives even back then that when they came out, they would be surprised that I was okay with it, with them being gay.
Okay.
That there was no judgment on me, and I would say, but why would anybody be judging you? And they would say, well, I just feel that that's wrong. It's unnatural.
Right, because that's what they've been told all of their lives.
That's yes, and they were bisexual or gay or transgender, and they were not fully okay with being accepted.
Right, because there has to be something that this person who is accepting me is not accounting for, that they will find is wrong.
Like,
right?
Like you mean like
but
he has to see something wrong in me and not saying it, or he has to see something wrong in me but is not seeing it yet.
Right. That's what I meant. Yes.
Okay. And that's because they are judging themselves from the point of view of the populace, of the culture that is. What is it that then happens in your generation that is like that? How are you judging yourself from the point of view of the populace?
Well, I suffer from a lot of guilt from things that are out of my control. Mm-hmm. Personally, I think that I'm lazy, that I don't do anything. I mean, I am almost 23. I still live with my parents. I still get an allowance from my dad. Thank you, by the way. Oh. I don't do my own chores. I don't cook my own meals. I don't know how to do anything, right? Mm-hmm. I am useless. And sometimes I would be called a baby because I have to be cared for, you know? And I don't even have a job. Even going out to go and get a job is such a hard task that just thinking about it sends me into a panic, right? And I also am not going to school right now. But are we over time?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
I'm not going to school now. I dropped out of college twice. That is a phrase that will instantly get me a lot of negative views from strangers and things like that. Like, obviously, I did not try my best, or obviously, I'm lazy, or obviously, I don't care about my own education and future. But in reality, the first time I dropped out because I was so severely depressed I couldn't even get out of bed, right? And I was actually charged a fee. I had to pay almost $1,000 to the school for being depressed.
And that's clinically depressed.
Right.
The psychiatrist or psychologist, right, gave you a level 9 depression out of 10.
Yes.
Which for the record, he said that the only reason he wouldn't recommend institutionalization at that point, was that you were not suicidal.
Right.
But it was that severe.
I was at the point where I would have been hospitalized long ago if I had suicidal tendencies.
So rationally speaking, you know that...
rationally speaking,
that's
I
not
know...
laziness, right?
Right. Rationally speaking, I know that I had a disability, and that disability prevented me from completing college, and that I was essentially sick.
Yeah. What happened the second time you dropped out?
The second time I dropped out, I was rushed to the hospital, and I was bedridden for a while because the pressure...
It was laziness.
Yes, I was... the pressure of school was so hard that I became lazy and I got rushed to the hospital because I was so lazy. No.
And what else?
And because I had so much pressure in my brain from spinal...
The fluid. The cerebral fluid.
Yes, spinal cerebral fluid. I had way too much in there that was causing so much pressure onto my brain that it was literally making me blind.
You were about to lose your eyesight completely.
Mm-hmm. And it would have been permanent. I do have permanent damage.
Yes.
In my right eye.
Yes.
But it has gone down tremendously because I've gotten the care that I needed after so much struggle there. Yeah. But the truth of the matter is that I was hospitalized after being put in a spinal tap for 3 days straight. And there was no way I was going to be able to physically go to school because...
You were a day or two away from having your head opened to relieve the pressure, and you would have had to have brain surgery, which we were able to bypass, to avoid.
Right. We barely avoided brain surgery, and it was on the table for contemplation for a very long time.
Yeah. You must be one of the laziest persons I know. You go through a lot of trouble to not go to school. That's amazing to me. That's commitment to it. But don't feel bad about it. There is many things that you can still do. You could still be a sharpshooter. You only need one eye. You can be a pirate. Okay. Yeah, there are many professions for you.
Yeah, see, we like that kind of stuff, that kind of humor. You know?
That's why you like the one about the Nazi soldiers shooting the...
Right, because it proves that this is a horrible thing to happen, and even the other Nazi thought that was straight up brutal. And if you think about it that way, damn, it's got to be a lot for that to happen. Yeah. And it doesn't trivialize my pain, you know? You're not making fun of me. You're trying to make me feel better by putting a funny spin to it, right? And in the case of the Nazi joke from the last episode...
hey, that was my life, dude.
That was your life.
I made up that joke in El Salvador. Of course, the protagonists there were Salvadorian soldiers, but that happened many times.
Right.
To me,
and
to
you
my
lived
brother,
through that. You even got shot at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and you were the one to come up with that joke, right?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing that we like. We are making fun of our own experiences, but we are not making fun of other people's experiences or
you don't try to make people laugh at the expense of a victim.
Right.
You laugh at the cruelty of the perpetrator.
Yes.
Yeah, and you laugh at the cruelty of the relentlessness of the disease or of the disability. But
absolutely,
yes, but
that is the kind of like dark humor that we like. We have a lot of people joke about their own suicidal tendencies. And it reads off as light, and we laugh at them, you know, at the jokes. But we all know that, hey, this person is seriously in some deep shit, you know? And humor is just a way of showing that, you know?
Well, humor is a mechanism
Absolutely.
of our brain that attempts to that finds a higher point of view by unifying opposites, by twisting things on its own, on themselves, and things like that. And it's in a way, it's like in the face of something that we can't really deal with or resolve, we find a way to laugh at it.
And I remember reading somewhere a quote that someone said, and it read something like, the type of humor that you laugh at shows what kind of person you are.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in response to someone saying that that we don't appreciate jokes because, well, take for instance the gay joke in the jail that you told. I would have been seen by someone else as someone with a stick up their butt, someone who can't appreciate a good joke.
That's how many of the older generations sees your generation.
Right. Yeah. They see us as not being able to take a joke, that we're too sensitive, that we... And yes, we are sensitive, and there is a little bit of truth in that, but it's not a negative thing that we have about ourselves.
I don't think it's a negative thing. It's the more I ponder on this question of the millennials, the more I see that you guys are simply taking the weight of humanity upon yourselves, and so you're not finding yourselves victims of your own race or your own class. You find yourself, you see the victimization in the entire human race.
Right, and that is a lot to take in.
It's a lot to take in.
So, of course, every little thing will flare us up.
Yeah, and so the humor has to respond to that.
Right.
To the fact that you are not just Hispanic, and you're not just American, you're not just straight or gay or just a millennial. You, like many in the past, many of our ancestors saw themselves as representatives of the world, citizens of the world and recipients of the world, of the world's karma, the world's culture and history. Right? And I think that this generation itself, is looking at themselves as that final repository of everything that humanity has been doing.
Right.
And so, yeah, the way that you're looking at the world has to be different. And there is nothing in the other generations that has a language for that. So you find yourself pioneering a new way of looking at things.
Right. Yeah, so that the person who said that very thing, it was a long time ago. I don't know who it was, or where the thing originated from, but it was in response to someone saying, millennials don't have a sense of humor, you guys are way too sensitive about everything, just appreciate the joke and laugh. And in the same screenshot, right under that, is someone that said, we like jokes, we just don't like your shitty racist ones. We, and someone who is actually like a comedian and has actually like studied the psychology behind humor and stuff, says that if someone finds a racist joke funny, chances are they are racist themselves, right? And I mean, that's not something that...
With the caveat that there are jokes about racism that are not racist.
Right.
And there are jokes, I make jokes about my heritage all the time because I'm not putting anyone down, even if I'm playing at doing that to myself.
Right. And see, we understand that difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of these people who are claiming that we have no sense of humor are ones that aren't able to differentiate between the two.
Yeah. Well, it's like now with the Donald Trump and the wall and his taking away DACA for the Dreamers, all that. I've been thinking a lot about that, and I was wondering why is it that Mexicans never do well in the Olympic Games? Everybody, the Russians, the Germans, the Americans, they do really well there in the Olympic Games. Mexicans, they don't do well. And then it dawned on me. It makes sense.
What?
Everybody, every Mexican that knows how to swim, run, or jump is already here.
I think I heard that one before.
All right, this is Coyote the Blind.
This is Alec.
And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right. Aho.